taking your money out via not home equity loans, right? You're taking your money out via
the
hard money.
like not just the hard money. So keyword is asset-based lender.
Asset-based lender.
Yes, it's income-based lenders will be like your Wells Fargo, your Bank of America, your local bank. They're the income-based. You go to them, they want to see the credit score. They want to, they want to see that you have really good income taxes. That you're actually making good money yourself. All of my money comes from real estate. So when I go to a bank and I still try it out once in a while because they got really good interest rate. And I always get denied for the loans because it's like all they see is like they just see all these expenses. Everything's coming from real estate. So for them, it's like, oh my God, it's like such a high risk. Like, we can't rock with you. But when you go to these asset-based lenders, they don't see any of that. All they're seeing is like, what is the house? Like, this is the house right here. How much you think it's worth? Oh, it's worth this much. All right, this is how much rent. This is how much I'm collecting the rent. So it's like, all right, cool, yeah, we could give you the loan on that.
So outside of hard money lenders, who else is an asset-based lender?
Asset-based lender. The one I use right now, they're called Visio.
So they're like companies.
Yeah, they're companies. Yeah,
Okay.
nationwide companies.
People.
No, they're nationwide legit bank companies, but they just work with investors.
What's the one that you use called?
Visio lending is the one that I'm currently using right now. That's another thing too. I mean, you got to keep these guys in rotation because it's like the other lender that I used before, they were giving me 70%. Now this one gives me 75%. That 5%, that's a huge difference. It's if you're talking about a $300,000 house, that's $15,000.
Yeah.
What's the interest rate usually from that compared to like a regular traditional bank?
A traditional bank might charge, let's say, like a 5%. These guys are charged like a 6.5%.
Yeah, and
then there's a 5-year arm. So after 5 years, you have to either sell the house or you have to refi it.
And we kind of spoke off camera, but we said hard money. Anybody could be a hard money lender, right? You can do it individually, or you can team up with a bunch of people to do it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things is that the time frame, right? The time frame when they want their money back is obviously a lot different, right? This is not a 30-year thing, right? They want their money back. And what are some of the time frames?
Well, hard money lenders, they want their money back ideally like in 1 year. They might give an extension for another 6 months or another year. With these cash out asset-based lenders, they'll give you loans for fixed for 5 years. It's like the 30-year mortgage, but basically it's like the interest rate's fixed for 5 years, 7 years, or 10 years. But after, at one point, they want you to either, refi them out, sell the house, or you could go with the 30-year program, but the interest rate is going to be a lot higher. You might look at like a 8.5%, 9%. So I'd rather just go with the short term because I figured, 5 years for me is like a long time. And I'm constantly evolving in real estate. So I figured like, get the lower interest rate just to increase the cash flow. And then in 5 years, I'll figure it out, see what's the next.
So what do you usually do in 5 years? What do you do? Like, what's your game plan?
Well, let's just say right now, I work with my portfolio right now. Right now, I just started building brand new construction houses. Those I'm not going to keep. Had I done new construction a couple of years ago, I definitely would have kept them. But my mindset right now is to develop buildings, and I already have the land to start developing buildings. But I feel that that's like too far of a reach for me right now.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna end up sending about from 10 to 15 new construction, sell those, get that money, and then start building the buildings. So like in 5 years, I already have a couple of buildings. Once I start developing the buildings, let's say if I develop a 30-unit building, I'm gonna start unloading 30 units of these like smaller properties. Like I don't want to deal with like the headache of these smaller ones when I can have 30 tenants in one section.
Yeah. If this sounds like Monopoly, it is. Like I literally watched your vision board, and like the last board is like, and when I get all these things, I'll have my Monopoly. So you start with the little greenhouses until you can get the red building, right? And once you start doing that,
three greenhouses and one red hotel. That's
hotel. Yeah.
That's, if you understand Monopoly, I'll say all the time. If you understand Monopoly, you can understand how to make money in this world.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Like the way I play Monopoly as a kid and even now, that's the same way I approach real estate. It's like my strategy when I play Monopoly is just, obviously you got to go around to just collect the money. But whenever I land on a piece of property, I try to get that property. Like I focus on just getting like the property, and then you focus on getting like kind of like the houses. So it's kind of like that's sort of what I've been doing. Is like if I see a really good deal and I land on it, I'm gonna try to get it. It's like don't let it pass out. Now I own properties that are kind of like next to each other. If you look at a building anywhere you go and you really size up the building, you realize like it's not that big of a land. It's just that on a small piece of land, they just went pretty high up and they have all these units. So in the city is where you're gonna find the buildings. You're not gonna find them in the suburbs. So now if you basically, it's sort of just like Monopoly. If you get 4 properties, and on those 4 properties, now you pop a building.
All right, so that leads perfect segue into our next segment where we're gonna talk about your next level, what you're doing, what you just briefly talked about, but we're gonna go into detail as far as the next level. All right, so we're playing Monopoly with real money, like the what was that video?
That
President's
Come
video.
on, man.
Shout out to Jay. We had to
Jay.
reference Jay. We kept on the streak
man.
alive. AZ.
True player style.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's
True
a
player
fact.
style. We're gonna play with some real money.
AZ, Dame, Big. We was kind of raised off of music, so that's what we relate to the music a lot. But if anybody from that era, you remember they was playing Monopoly with real money. But Fernando's actually really playing Monopoly. Like, it's not a rap video. It's not a rap video.
Deeper than rap.
No, it's bigger than rap. It's bigger than rap.
No, we get inspired by rappers.
So, all right. So now you talked about the blueprint as far as to buy the homes and then to get the money out of the homes and then buy another home and kind of keep that cycle going. But you're saying that, see, all successful people have a plan, right? Nobody just start. We had another guest on episode 11. Shout out to Derek Falcon. He was a great episode on, he's a restaurant owner in Baltimore. And he spoke about you have to have a vision, right? He was like, whenever he goes into something, he thinks about like, what is his grandkids going to inherit? Like, you know, that's like his play. Like, what's the grandkids going to inherit? Even though he doesn't even have kids yet, I don't think.
Nah,
like,
I don't think that. Nah, you don't.
So that's like, you gotta always think 3 steps ahead. So you're already planning 3 steps ahead, right? So you're doing the real estate thing with the mixed unit, multi-level homes and things of that nature, multi-family homes. But the next play is a bigger play, right?
Yeah.
So we want to talk about that in this segment. So you told me over the phone when we spoke, and I saw at the seminar that now you're just buying plots of land,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And you're a real estate developer.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so a couple of months back, like I was with Caesar, and we were at a political function, and we just, chopping it up, and he showed me an email. He's like, oh, look, like these lots, they're for sale. You're interested? And I looked at them, and I saw the addresses. I'm like, oh man, I'm just garbage. And he was like,
Can you pause for 2 seconds? Because when I say lots, right, a lot of people will think, oh, you're buying a parking lot.
No.
Lots of land.
So
lots
yeah,
of land.
that goes over. Like they're like, no, he's buying a parking lot.
Yeah, lots, basically, that's where your properties look like, the house is located.
Exactly.
Right? So,
Okay. Thank you.
So he looks at them too. He's like, yeah, man, I thought the same thing. But as I'm looking through, I saw there was one address that popped up, and there was 2 lots, and they were next to 2 properties that I already own that are right next to each other. So I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was been looking for that one. I was like, whoosh. So I was like, yo, let me get that list. He sent it over to me, and then reached out to the realtor, but I just wanted those 2. I wasn't interested in the other ones.
Yeah.
So, but the guy was like, nah, the seller, he's only willing to basically sell everything together. Like, he's not gonna let you just make it pick which ones you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I still push for, I was like, you know what, then I'm gonna buy I try to squeeze in half of them. I was like, send it off for like half. He's like, nah, he wants, you gotta buy everything. So I lowballed him on everything. And just with the idea, I said, you know what, I'm gonna buy everything. And as soon as I did the numbers, if he gives it to me at this price, I could just throw it back on the market, just make a few dollars on it.
Mm-hmm.
So get into the process. I ended up going on the contract. As I'm going on the contract, I started doing more research. I started researching brand new constructions, and I noticed that they were selling for like $350, $330, $360, and I realized that they're new constructions, but these new constructions were built in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these will be built in 2018, so I was like, wait a minute, that means that these have to be worth a lot more than, so at least 375. So I figured, all right, so the key is like, no, number one, you got to know what can you sell something for. So like, 375. So now, how much am I paying for these lots? On average, I was like paying like 25.
25,000.
25,000.
How many lots did you buy?
22.
You bought 22 lots, 25,000 a piece.
Yeah, 25,000 a piece. Yeah, and there was like a 2-family in there that they just kind of like threw in.
So how do you buy lots? You buy it in cash, or can you get like a loan for that?
That was like a mission, because I'm calling up like the hard money lenders that I use, and they're like, we don't loan on vacant lots. I was like, wait a minute, okay. I just put up like $20,000 non-refundable. What you mean you can't loan me on this? Like, now you know what? You got to put up like 50%. was like, shit, I can't. I was like, no, that's too much. Then I started making phone calls and I started explaining to them, have a conversation, like, you know how much business we've done.
You got some great content, man.
You know what I mean?
If I call somebody for $20,
Well, it's all about relationships.
yeah, exactly. You build some really good relationships, man.
So,
And I'm a quiet guy. Like, I'm not a big speaker, but when it comes to business and stuff, and then get on that phone, it's like, I start transforming, man. I'm like, it's like Michael Jackson gets on stage, quiet dude off stage, but on stage, he has to perform. It's showtime. So long story short, I convinced them to loan me, and they were willing to do, the lender was willing to do 20%.